Good evening, councillors and officers, and those who may be watching us online. Welcome to the December council meeting of Corangamite Shire. I'd like to begin with the prayer. We ask for guidance and blessing on this council. May the true needs and well-being of our communities be our concern. Help us who serve as leaders to remember that all our decisions are made in the best interests of the people, culture and the environment of the Corangamite Shire. Amen.
Amen.
Acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land around Corangamite Shire, the Eastern Maar and the Wadawurrung people. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal elders, past, present and emerging. I'd like to introduce councillors and staff who are around the table this evening. To my left is Deputy Mayor Geraldine Kennedy, Councillor Joe Beard, Councillor Jamie Vogels, and to my right is Councillor Kate Macon, Councillor Laura Hickey, and Councillor Nick Cole. Our CEO, for the time being, is Mr Andrew Mason. We have our Director of Corporate and Community Services, Mr David Harrington. Our Director of Works and Services, Ms Brooke Love. Director of Sustainable Development is Mrs Justine Linley. And we have two managers with us this evening, Aaron Moyne, Manager of Planning and Building, and Assets Manager John Kelly. Mr CEO, we have no apologies this evening. Oh, I beg your pardon. And the Governance Coordinator, Mr James Plozza. I beg your pardon, Mr Plozza. I feel you're just one of the team. Mr CEO, we have no apologies. Declarations of conflict of interest?
Through you, Mayor, we've got one declaration from Councillor Beard in relation to item 13.1, which is the Community Volunteer Awards.
Thank you. Councillors, the minutes from the meeting on the 22nd of November have been circulated. Would someone like to move those minutes, please? Councillor Cole, and seconded by Councillor Vogels. Councillor Cole, is there anything you'd like to comment on the minutes?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vogels?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
All in favour? Carried. There are no deputations or presentations this evening, so we'll move straight to the agenda, and item 7 is committee reports. 7.1 is the Audit and Risk Committee Independent Member Reappointment. Mr Harrington, could you introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, this report recommends the reappointment of Ms Philippa D to the Audit and Risk Committee as an independent member. Ms D has completed her first 3-year term on the committee, and the Audit and Risk Committee Charter allows for members to serve 3 consecutive terms. In accordance with the Charter, Ms D has notified the CEO of her intention to seek reappointment for a further 3 years. The requirements for reappointment of existing members are that it is subject to satisfactory performance. To assist in meeting this requirement, a brief assessment was conducted with the 2 councillor committee members, the 2 independent committee members, and myself, the Director of Corporate and Community Services. The results strongly indicated that Ms D met performance requirements and showed support amongst her fellow committee members to extend her tenure. Mayor, there's a recommendation before you.
Thank you, Mr Harrington. Councillors' recommendation to appoint Ms Philippa D as an external member of the Audit Risk Committee. Would someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Kennedy, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Kennedy, would you like to speak to this
Thank
item?
you, Madam Mayor, and through you, yes, Ms D is most capable of undertaking the role of Chair for the Audit and Risk Committee. She's very experienced. She's been there for some time now, and she's certainly very skilled and has all the necessary qualifications for the role. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hickey, did you want to add?
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I would have to agree. I think Philippa would be a great chair again. I've worked with her or served with her in the last couple of years on the Audit and Risk Committee, and I just wrote a note here, if I may. I'll just read that. I just said that Philippa is very considered when working through the items raised on the committee agenda, and most knowledgeable in her explanations of her position during discussions. Strong commitment to the ideals of strong governance has been proven in the last 2 years, and have worked for a very sound working committee. So I'm very happy to endorse the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Is there anything further, councillors? All in favour? Carried. Item 7.2 is the Port Campbell Public Purpose Reserve, the Asset Committee membership. Ms Love, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, councillors, this report recommends council endorse the nominated members for Port Campbell Community Asset Committee, overseeing the Public Purpose Reserve. They recently held an annual general meeting and re-nominated all of the committee, and as well as welcoming Claire Eunice to the committee. Pleasingly, the committee highlighted that functions are being held and operations have continued despite some challenges with attracting volunteers. So this committee membership should see the continuation of the effective management and operation of that reserve for the forthcoming term. Recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Have a councillor to move that recommendation, please. Councillor Vogels, thank you. Seconder. Councillor Macon, thank you. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, big thanks to the committee people for reappointing themselves, putting their hands up again, plus Claire for jumping in, and obviously need more volunteers, more hands, makes a lot of work. And I'd like to thank the Mayor for chairing the AGM for me, because I couldn't make it. I was stuck doing harvest, but congratulations to all the members, and hopefully things go well for the next 12 months and find some more people to go on with them.
Terrific. Thanks, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, I agree with everything Councillor Vogels has said. I thank all the committee members for going back on again, and for Claire Eunice jumping on, and I look forward to seeing what projects they've got in store for the upcoming year, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, nothing further? All in favour? Carried. Moving on to planning reports. Item 8.1 is the Cobden Structure Plan and Cobden Aerodrome Master Plan, Council Adoption and Planning Scheme Amendment C59 CORA. Mr Moyne, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you I present Council with this report which relates to the Cobden Structure Plan, Cobden Aerodrome Master Plan and Planning Scheme Amendment C59. Preparation of the Cobden Structure Plan has taken approximately 12 months and involved extensive planning and development process involving a project working group and multiple community engagement points. The Structure Plan is a key strategic plan for Cobden's future growth and prosperity, providing a long-term land use planning framework over a 15 to 20 year horizon. The plan places a strong focus on the growth of Cobden and supporting the delivery of zoned and market-ready land available for residential development within a new settlement boundary. The plan itself is broken into 4 individual themes which provide supporting recommendations and action for implementation, and they relate to both planning recommendations and non-planning related recommendations as well. A review of the Cobden Aerodrome Master Plan has also been undertaken, which has resulted in changes to noise modelling, aircraft movements and mapping to protect the obstacle limitation surfaces surrounding the aerodrome. These changes have been undertaken to enable their effective implementation into the planning scheme. For Council to proceed with updates and changes to the Corangamite planning scheme to implement both plans, a planning scheme amendment must be undertaken. The planning scheme amendment will seek to update strategic and policy direction, rezone land and apply the relevant planning controls, and support the future growth and development of Cobden. Planning scheme amendment C59 has been drafted to this effect. A planning scheme amendment is a statutory process which, once authorised by the Minister for Planning, will involve further public exhibition and consultation. Council has the opportunity to then further review and consider submissions before the amendment is referred to a planning panel or adopted by Council. Information will be provided to the community further on steps involved in the planning scheme amendment process. An important issue to note, which has been raised by some landowners in the preparation of the structure plan and rezoning of land, is the potential impact of the upcoming windfall gains tax. Council is investigating this further, and the planning scheme amendment process provides a time to deal with this further with individual landowners based on their own circumstances. The preparation of the Cobden Structure Plan and its progression through to a planning scheme amendment is a significant milestone and underpins future strategic direction of the town. The recommendation is provided to adopt the Cobden Structure Plan and the updated Cobden Aerodrome Master Plan and progress with planning scheme amendment C59 through ministerial authorisation and public exhibition.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Councillors, there's recommendation on page 25. Someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy, thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I think I was the obvious choice there. I think your eyes come directly to me. It's actually been a pleasure of mine to be involved in this process. It's the first time since I've been on council to be part of such an inclusive way of going about a planning scheme amendment as a councillor. And first and foremost, I want to thank my fellow councillors through their council plan for identifying this as such a strategic priority, and knowing that it's not only going to be happening in Cobden in years to come, but other towns as well. So as I said, it's been a great process to be part of. Obviously, the reason we wanted to do this was to update the strategic direction, get some rezoning done, apply the appropriate planning controls, and along with tidying up some known anomalies that we'd previously had in our structure plan, but all of which support the future growth of Cobden. As Mr. Moyne alluded to, this is just another step in the planning scheme amendment being here tonight, and obviously we spoke about this only a couple of months ago when we put the draft plan out for community feedback. It's interesting that Cobden, I think through the COVID pandemic, which I know we're still going through, it was really identified more so than ever before. We were kind of cruising at residential growth rate, and you never thought that this would be an issue. Then all of a sudden COVID hit, and all of a sudden we've got no housing, no rentals, and really not a lot of options for people to invest in new residential growth. So the timing of this, it's a pity it wasn't a couple of years ago, but I think we're addressing it in a timely manner to do what we can to support the community of Cobden. If I can just quote part of Aaron's or Mr. Moyne's report before he said, housing supply and availability is a significant issue in Cobden. We simply don't have enough or market-ready land to support population growth, township sustainability, and key worker and affordable housing, all of which is significant for people relocating to rural areas. And being a Cobden resident myself, I see this firsthand, and this is what I hear about on the street regularly. The structure plan is a strategic plan for Cobden's future, prepared with input from not only our community but various stakeholders. And the technical and planning assessments were all reviewed by the project working group, which we pulled together from people who we knew would be really significant to helping overview this process on behalf of the Cobden community, and obviously on council as well. The draft that was released has now been provided and is obviously informing this final draft that we're now with tonight, which will form part of the process to the Planning Minister. It's still a process, which I continually hear Mr. Moyne telling some people that are involved in terms of stakeholders, and that there's still an opportunity for community members as the planning scheme amendment process rolls out, that there'll still be availability for contribution through that. I've worked fairly significantly through the Cobden Aerodrome Master Plan process as well, and it's great to see that we can now combine that into the future of the Cobden Strategic Plan and the Planning Scheme Amendment. There was some, I think Mr. Moyne certainly said that there was some anomalies that we needed to align with the Planning Scheme Amendment, but it's great to have that obstacle limitation survey really going to be formed part of the structure plan now, because at the end of the day, the people, not only in the Cobden community, but the region want to see that the protection of that airstrip. So this is going to be, we're ticking off that priority now for that facility. The 4 key themes that Mr. Moyne spoke about is around employment and the Cobden as a service town. The second one was attracting people and spending time in Cobden. The third one was housing in Cobden, and the fourth was a resilient Cobden. I won't go into all the special mentions of what came in under each of those key themes, but I will mention just a couple. There's been direction around industrial rezoning, the viability to support the Cobden Town Centre, which being a Cobden councillor I hear about every day, And delivering the Stage 2 streetscape works will form part of that, which I'm thankful to Council for that $500,000 project coming up. And also better promotion around when you arrive into town and the wayfinding, so directional signage, and just getting that town centre capitalised more instead of people just driving through on the main road. So that'll all form part of this plan. There's also delivery of 3 primary housing growth nodes. So people may look at the plan and think, holy heck, they've got enough planning for housing residential growth for the next 50, 60 years, but we're going to have it staged. And so primarily there will be 3 areas of promotion of development. So I think that's a really sensible way to go about it, but at least we're not closing off our options going forward. And also we're going to have facilitation through the planning policy for a co-located emergency facilitation, which if anybody out there knows has been a priority for Cobden with the ambulance or the ambulance community officer, the ACO branch, and a new SES building as well. So that's something that we can work on going forward. I'm going to talk to something that's probably where I get grumpy now, and I did warn the councillors I was going to get grumpy again, but the windfall gains tax is something Mr Moyne referred to it. That is a significant issue, and when we set out to do this process, it's now become evident to me that this is going to be a significant issue for turning over some developments into residential housing opportunities. The reason I say that is because the state government through the Department of Treasury introduced this, it's a tax, and so anyone who has their land, being farming land, turned into residential land, then they have to pay significant tax on that upward trend. Now, a lot of the people who are having, I can say, in this structure plan, local people, good local community people who happen to have some farming zone that we've identified as rezoning to residential, and that's through them wanting to do it as well to help support the issues that we have in Cobden. And then they're going to be hit with this significant tax, which is of no value, absolutely no value to rural or regional communities, particularly people like Corangamite Shire. I know our CEO, Andrew Mason, has been battling this one at Rural Councils Victoria, and I think, Mayor, you've taken it on yourself too at the Municipal Association Victoria as our board member. But I think as councillors, and I really implore any other councils out there listening, that we need to go in and bat harder for this, because it is going to defeat the purpose of what we're trying to do around opening up residential growth areas in our communities. It'll become unviable for those developers, being our local people, to actually turn a profit, which why would they actually open up the residential land then? So I'm really worried about that. So I hope that we can continue to make a bit of noise around that. So that's my grumpy part. On a positive note, I'm going to finish, but I just want to say the consultation process has been great. I think it's been really transparent, and we've had great public involvement, which is what we wanted. I'd like to thank our planning consultant, who hopefully might be watching, Kevin Hazel, might be watching at home, but thank you for his expertise and guidance through this process, and also the project working group. I can't thank them enough, because they were actually giving up their days of work to come and be part of this process, so thank you to them. The plan was always going to be visionary. It was bold, and I think we've been pretty gutsy, if I can say that, in terms of being looking at something so forward thinking. But I really hope that it will provide a great livability, a life balance, affordability, and drive population to a really great community. So it will help Corangamite all round, hopefully. So thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I can endorse every word that was spoken by Councillor Beard. It's all true, and I think this is a great project, and it's all about long-term strategic planning and growth and development of Cobden, and a huge part of it is getting the planning settings right, and in the planning scheme, as that is the enabling element. I don't think I need to say any more, because Councillor Beard has really spoken to all the key things. Apart from the windfall gains tax, I totally agree with what she's saying. It's it's pretty disappointing. It's just completely at odds with the recognised need for housing out in the regions. And, it's just creating hurdles for regional infrastructure development and economic development and opportunities and jobs. And it's the last thing we need, really, out in the regions. And I'm sorry that tax has been imposed on us, especially as, our farming zones quite often come right up to our town boundaries. So a lot of our community are going to be impacted by it. Potentially impacted by it, because I think, as Councillor Beard said, it really is going to hold back development. I think, as a lot of the developers are quite small, and that it probably wouldn't be viable for them to go ahead. So I think that's definitely a blow to us in the regions, and I'm sorry that it's been imposed. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And I must admit, I was very enjoyed to read the report from the planning officer when I saw so many pages, which took me a fair few days to actually get through it all. But very interesting read, a great read. The strategic plan at the end, of course, is the end product, but it's the planning process that we go through to actually get to that strategic plan that is really, really important. So I congratulate all those who have had some input to it. It's certainly working towards a great result, and for the Corangamite Shire to be vibrant and progressive, we need all of the towns to be contributing to it. So having a strategic plan for Cobden is just one part of the gear, one part of the tooth in the cog that actually makes that all happen. The development of the aerodrome is very, very important to us as a supply region, also for emergency services and for some charter, but mostly for emergency services and supply. So that's a very, very important document too. And again, I'd like to say that I think this windfall tax that has been quite unfairly imposed on us. It really goes against what we're trying to achieve at a council with our unlocking housing developments, and it could be argued it goes directly against other state government housing policy. Yes, the windfall tax, I don't think it's going to do us any favours at all, but I think the strategic plan and having the complete plan detailed certainly will. So I congratulate the officers who put that together.
Thanks, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, is there anything further? No, I'd just like to obviously echo Councillor Beard's sentiments around the windfall gains tax. As we've heard this evening, it's just another additional barrier in regional Victoria. We're desperately in need of housing land to be rezoned, and this is another reason why landowners, again, very probably small landowners that have an opportunity to provide some lots, particularly for social and affordable housing, and that may be taken away. So, Councillor Beard, I'd just like to thank you for your participation in this project. I know it's been very dear to your heart, and to Mr Moyne and Mr Hazel have done a fabulous job. And I'd like to, along with you, to thank the people of Cobden who've taken part in this really important strategic document for the next 20 to 30 years in Cobden. So without further ado, I'll put it to a vote. Councillors, all in favour? Carried. Moving on to officers' reports, and item 9.1 is the Grow and Prosper Corangamite engagement. Thank you, Mrs Lingley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report provides an overview of community and business engagement for the development of Grow and Prosper Corangamite, the Corangamite Economic Growth and Prosperity Framework for 2022 to 2032, and provides an overview of the next stages in the framework development. Following a review of 3 strategies in 2021, Council endorsed a project plan and approved terms of reference for the development of the framework at its meeting in September this year. And since then, the project has commenced with the formation of a project reference group, a project launch here in Camperdown with keynote speaker Anna Mears OAM, focusing on resilience, persistence and adaptability, a breakfast event in Port Campbell with Simon Kustenmacher, looking at economic and demographic trends and opportunities, and 2 co-design workshops held in Terang and Port Campbell. The next stage of the project will involve the development of a discussion paper and draft of the framework itself, and this will draw upon ideas and feedback and evidence from a range of sources, including direct community and business input. From the initial consultation in the co-design workshops, there are a number of themes that are emerging, and these include the importance of agriculture, housing, connectivity, creativity, the environment, and the authenticity of people and place. And when we talk about that, that includes the respect for First Nations people, culture and stories, celebrating and building on strong local volunteering, and preparing for the next tourism wave so that it remains sustainable. Further engagement is built into the project plan, and we're meeting the delivery timeframes that were originally set out. We're also aiming to meet community expectations with a program of deliberative active engagement, providing councillors and council staff the opportunity to talk directly with businesses and community members across the Shire. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs Lindley. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Someone like to move that recommendation, please? Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Thank you. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I think the approach of integrating and aligning, I'm sorry to go through the list, but economic and industry development, visitor economy, the creative sectors and events and festivals, I think that's a really great approach. And to align them into a single framework tailored for Corangamite, I think it's just putting us on the right foot for what we're trying to do. From what I've seen so far, I think the engagement has been very successful and has identified the themes that are really important to already, is identifying themes that are important to Corangamite, and which have also emerged in our 2040 vision and the council plan as well. So with the co-design approach, we've used it before and it's always been a great success. That ensures that we have input from all sides, from business and a variety of community stakeholders. So I think we've made really great progress with this, and I think our engagement and the interest that we've seen to date indicates that we're certainly ready to proceed to the next stage. So I think the recommendation, I certainly would support it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Hickey.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Completely endorse what Councillor Kennedy has said. It's a great engagement program, and it's been good to be part of it too. There's been people whom I've spoken to who've come up with some very audacious goals and plans, and yes, it's very exciting to see what can happen. So I congratulate you on pulling these ideas together and just see what really can become of it. So yeah, very excited to see where the growth and prosperity engagement goes. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, further comments? Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to say congratulate them on pulling this together, and one of the headings is the importance of agriculture and build on the strengths and provide support and innovation, which we're an agricultural shire. The area is an agricultural area, and I think it's very important. But the other one is creativity, promote innovators and makers already in business and the community. We have a couple of extraordinary businesses in the Shire even making amazing things, and you don't have to live in a big city nowadays to do these sorts of things, and that's a credit to the Shire to actually get these people here, and they want it and they love being here too. The outdoors and the areas and things, and I really encourage people, if they're in that vein, I think they can have a look around the area and they might find something that they like, and it just gives the area another string to its bow as well. I'm a farmer and I love farming, but we need all sorts of things so the community prospers, because agriculture goes through its ups and downs as well. So and it's a great plan, and congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillors, anything further? No, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Item 9.2 is the Tandrook Park Cobden Master Plan. Ms Love, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, councillors, this report is to seek adoption of the Tandrook Park Master Plan, which has been developed to provide a 10-year framework and strategic approach for the future provision, development and usage of the park. A project reference group was established to oversee the project and provide feedback into the plan, and community consultation has also been undertaken to inform the development of the master plan. The draft master plan has been out on public exhibition, and submissions were sought to the draft master plan. Council has received 9 submissions through that time, and the feedback has been for the most part positive, with support being provided by 8 of the 9 submissions. Overall, the feedback submitted has been discussed with the project reference group, and they've provided direction to make some amendments to the master plan. This includes a review of priorities within the plan to increase the priority of a barbecue shelter, further consideration to access and parking, and horticultural management. Councillors, the Tandarook Park master plan has been revised after it's been out on public consultation. It's had extensive feedback from the community, and through the project reference group it's now presented for your adoption.
Thank you, Ms Love. Someone like to move recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon. Councillor Beard.
Oh, Madam Mayor, it's exciting to be a Cobden resident tonight. For those at home listening.
Cobden's got everything.
Sorry?
Cobden's got everything.
Cobden has got.
I thought it was a day for everything.
It's exciting. No, this is a plan I'm really grateful again to Council for backing. Often, as you all know, we go through budget deliberations and processes and we think, oh, if only we had a plan. Do we know if the community actually really wants it? Well, now having gone through this master plan process, we know what the community wants to the best of our ability, and we've got 10 years to now tick those priority actions off. If we can do it all in one foul swoop and sooner, I'd be really grateful to Council, but I'm also a realist too. I'd like to thank first and foremost the planning consultant we had, also Manager Jared Woff and Officer Jane Hines, who were really pivotal in helping the project reference group, which came together and helping us to not only review the feedback but also having input throughout that entire process. Again, very transparent and knowing that we're getting the right plan because it's what the community is telling us. We've always identified that Tandarook Park, probably through a lot of feedback, just needed some love and attention. So I don't think the plan is over. We're not overselling it. We're not overdoing it. I think what's come up out of the plan is it's still to remain quite a passive recreational space, which we heard pretty loud and clear. But again, just saying that it needs some love and attention. And I think the fact that it had been acknowledged that, through council operations, even a lot of the issues around the horticultural management can be picked up internally. So that's great. But simple things like, better connecting pathways from the different areas around Tandarook Park, like Cobden Health and the Tandarook House, then it makes sense to have some better connections through there. The upgrade to the barbecue shelter is probably long overdue, but I think it is quite a well-utilised space, particularly this time of year, a lot of family barbecues. And as I said, it's a passive recreational space. To see kids out there just having fun with not much is actually a great alternative sometimes to the typical playgrounds that we have. It was certainly muted, and I have to say I was probably one who was keen to see where this potential led for a cricket ground, a second cricket oval, designated cricket oval for Cobden. And then it was pretty evident that it wouldn't have had the room, being the topography of the site as well. But that certainly wasn't through lack of commitment from a very passionate group of Cobden people. But I'll be interested to see now where we can facilitate extra talks with the Cobden Technical School, with that being already the second oval in Cobden, and how we can potentially help with the upgrade, or not council, but how we can help with the facilitation upgrades there. So in saying that, it's a pleasure of mine to get this draft now into the final stage. It was only 9 submissions, which is, to me, if you don't hear too much more than generally everyone's pretty happy. And I think we've been able to facilitate each of those concerns that did arise from that. So I think we've got the best possible plan. I can't wait now to see how we get it through budget programming. I'll have a crack on behalf of the residents of Cobden, but I think it's great for council now to have a driving document to help those projects. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Beard. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. And I don't know where to start, Councillor Beard. You've said it all again. I was happy to learn that Tanderwood Park was established in 1981, and prior to becoming an open space reserve, the parkland area was a quarry and later a tip before converting the tip to the Botanical Gardens area. Now, this should be a piece of history that should be told and displayed within the park so visitors, locals can appreciate the journey the park has been through to get to where it is now. And I'm pleased to note this was brought up by the feedback and will be included in the action plan, which is great. There are a lot of positive attributes about the park, including the large, open, uncluttered, quiet space, attractive view lines, rural areas to the west, the central location to the town, adjacent to the Cobden Health Precinct, the public toilets, the rose garden, the barbecue shelter, and the established trees. So the bones are there, so to speak. We just need to bring them up to today's standard and maintain them better, which is great. With the majority of the feedback we received, the same thing was kept coming up, to keep it as a large, quiet, open space, not taken up with playground equipment, rebound walls, dog parks and other things that can take this space very cluttered and noisy place to be. They want it quiet and open. And not every town is lucky enough to have the opportunity or the availability to have such a space for their residents and visitors to visit. It will be an asset for the town of Cobden and its community. The timeline of works to be carried out is very achievable, and I'm excited to see them being completed in the next 12 to 24 months. And as Councillor Beard said, we're not going over the top, we're just doing what needs to be done and replacing what needs to be replaced and bringing it back up to the 2022 standard. So thank you, Madam Mayor, and I look forward to seeing what the park becomes in the next 24 months.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillors, is there any further comment? Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Cobden's got everything apparently. The only thing they don't have is probably a slide. They could get that perhaps from
I think we were looking at passive recreation in Tanderwood Park, and can I just say how pleased I am to see that this master plan has come before council. And growing up, my family home was across the road from the tip, and then consequently Tanderwood Park, which was it is a lovely space, and spent many hours looking across the road and seeing people enjoying the grand shelter, as the rotunda was known as in our house, and family groups having Christmas gatherings or weddings or the like. So it does need a little bit of love and attention. Councillor Beard, you're quite right, but it's great to see this master plan coming to fruition this evening. So there's no further comments, councillors. I'll put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.3 is a special charge scheme for the Timboon-Curdy Vale Road footpath. Mr Kelly, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So this report is for Council to consider declaration of a special charge scheme for installation of a footpath on eastern side of Timboon-Curdy Vale Road from Lambert Street to Haywoods Road, Timboon. The path would connect to an existing path in Lambert Street. There's high community benefit with this proposed path. It would improve access for those on the south side of town to the CBD and to the pool. Also, potentially in the future, there's a long-term connection potentially with the 12 Apostles Trail via Haywoods Road and Glarham's Road. With the consultation with this scheme, there was an initial survey put out to the property owners, followed up by an on-site meeting with owners. Of the 18 owners, 9 of the owners supported proceeding with the process. 7 did not support that, and 2 didn't respond. Based on that response, it was decided to continue with the more formal process of the special charge scheme, where there's public notice in the local paper and letters to the owners, and opportunity for people to make submissions over a 28-day period. The council to consider. There was 3 submissions that came through, and one of the main themes, particularly in the submissions, was with this scheme there's a unique situation where there's a large farming block amongst general residential blocks in the street. Frontages are what used to apportion the contribution from the owners, and in this instance we had the frontages ranging from 12 metres up to 141 metres for that farming block. So with that in consideration, what is proposed is that for that larger farming block, that the owner's contribution would be based on the average of the remaining blocks contributing to the scheme. So that results in the contribution reducing for that particular property from just over $5,800 to just over $1,100. So that apportionment in the spreadsheet is provided with the council report. So with that in mind, and also given the high community benefit to the town with the scheme, it's recommended that the special charge scheme for the new footpath be declared for Timboon Curtivale Road.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Councillors, do I have a mover? Councillor Macon, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Vogels, thank you. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. This footpath will be an asset for the whole community, not just the residents of the Timboon Curtivale Road. With the 12A's trail works being completed, people can now do the loop around the edge of the town and safely arrive back into the centre of the town and the swimming pool. And based on the community benefit and the special anonymity and access benefits to the abutting property owners, it is recommended that council has 75% of the cost and the residents have 25% of the cost. I often use this road as part of my running loop, and I'm always concerned about the traffic and making sure there is enough room for everyone on the road for safety. I have been stopped on many occasions by residents to see if this footpath was firstly on council's plan to get this footpath achieved, and then once it was made public we were looking into it when it was going ahead. There is a need and a want for this footpath. I understand there have been concerns raised regarding this footpath, such as impact on native trees, and the distribution is not fair as properties are differing in sizes. However, benefits are the same, as Mr. Kelly alluded to before. We are working very closely with our Parks and Garden team and our design team to make sure the impacts on the trees is minimal, to make sure none of the beauty of Timboon is lost. And with the footpath, there is an unprecedented occurrence for council involving such disparity in the length of frontage with a farming block located alongside residential blocks. The special rates and charges policy enables council to be flexible in determining the apportionment of the cost for this special charge scheme. For example, the council takes into consideration frontage length where a property is located on the corner, such as the apportionment of the base on the lesser is based on the lesser of the property's frontage and signage length. Therefore, I recommend council apply the average frontage amount of all other properties to the property with the largest frontage. This would reduce the contribution for that property from just over $5,000 down to just over $1,000, which is a win for that residents and the rest of the community along the Timboon Curtivale Road. So I look forward to being able to run safely down this road in the near future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Katie on all that. It is a much needed footpath, and it'll be welcomed by a lot of people. Council, when doing the footpaths, are always looking at native vegetation and where they can avoid and do it better. Avoid hurting trees whenever possible. Everything's done well, or to the best of our abilities, but sometimes things are in the way and they have to come out. But whenever possible, it's done so they're not. So hopefully it goes through without any major native vegetation upset. Reading through the submissions and stuff for and against and everything, and I think it is in town. It's on the edge of town. It's still part of town, and to say there shouldn't be a footpath there is ludicrous in town. It's not really agricultural land on the edge of Timboon, and I think that's probably a good thing with the length of one of the blocks, which is probably extreme in the case that you would normally see. I'm happy with the change to the how much to pay. So I think that $4,000 will be stumped up by the community through their rates to put against that, and generally it works. Sometimes it doesn't, but I see we're malleable and we can make changes when they're highlighted. So that'll be a good thing for the town.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Vocals. Councillors, any further comment? Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I completely agree with Councillor Macon and Councillor Vogels, and thank them for what they've spoken about. I have to say, I can guarantee there's been a couple of submissions where they've said they can't justify a footpath because not enough people would use it. I can guarantee you we've never put a footpath in that has not had an increase in usage, and I think it was evident during the COVID pandemic when all we could literally do was walk around on footpaths or roads or somewhere, that it actually has provided, it fills a gap in some people's lives. That's all they've got to do. And I think when you look at the health and well-being of our communities, I don't think we can undersell how important a connecting footpath is to our communities. So I just wanted to highlight that please, those that are quite, I don't want to say cynical, but thinking it won't get used, I can guarantee it will. And the other thing is to take advantage of the low interest payment plans. If people don't want to pay up front in the one lot sum, that we have got the advantage of having the instalment program. So I wasn't sure if you were going to speak to that, Madam Mayor, but I think that's always a good opportunity for people to know that they're not locked into a corner straight up. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillors, anything further? I'll put it to a vote. All in favour? That's carried. Item 9.4 is the Portable and Attractive Assets Policy. Ms Love.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, Council, this report seeks adoption of the revised Portable and Attractive Assets Policy, which has been reviewed with minor amendments only. The policy provides a framework and a control structure for Council to effectively manage it and monitor and report on purchasing, storage, recording, use and disposal of portable and attractive assets. What are portable and attractive assets? Items that can be easily moved between locations by one person, or attractive by its nature or size or marketability, so therefore susceptible to theft or loss. As I said, the policy's only been revised with some minor administrative changes, so the recommendation is to revoke the previous policy and adopt the new policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, someone happy to move? Thanks, Councillor Hickey, and seconded Councillor Cole. Councillor Hickey.
Not much to say on this, Mayor. There's been some very minor changes. It was interesting to notice that one of the attractive assets that I saw in the list was a shovel. I've never actually seen a shovel as attractive ever in my life, but nevertheless it must be in there partly. But yes, minor changes, and happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Cole.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councillor Hickey. When I first read the heading, I thought it must be the council they were talking about, portable and attractive, but no, it's shovels apparently. So I'm more than happy to move. It's just mainly administrative.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to put it to vote, councillors. All those in favour? Carried. The disposal of assets policy. Mr Kelly, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So this report seeks Council's adoption of the revised disposal of assets policy. This policy gives direction to Council staff for decommissioning and disposal of Council-owned assets. It informs the asset managers of their responsibilities in the disposal process. With the revision, the main change in the policy is more of a reference to the circular economy. Certainly a greater emphasis on reuse or recycling of council assets and minimising waste. So it's recommended that council revoke the old policy and adopt the revised disposal assets policy that's presented.
Thank you, Mr Kelly. Councillors, someone like to move that motion, please? Councillor Beard, thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Cole. Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and I feel like I'm doing this in honour of my fellow councillor Vogels, who's all over the circular economy. But I think this is really smart. We're kind of walking the talk now. We talk about circular economy, but also recycling and, you know, taking reductions in the landfill, but also let's give things a second chance if we can. And we may not see the second chance, but someone else might. So I think this policy helps steer the organisation to think necessarily the way we haven't always naturally thought. And I think this is a way society's going. So I think, as I said, we're leading by example. And I think there's minimal changes in here, but you can truly see there's a pretty strong focus on let's look at reusing or recycling and doing the best we possibly can before we actually have to physically dispose of it. So I'm certainly supportive of this policy, and I'm happy to move that recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Cole, did you have anything?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councillor Beard. We've got to recycle and circular economy, but when I'm finished with the shovel, it's basically knackered. So but I agree with make as much use out of them as possible.
Thank you. Councillors, anything further? All in favour? Carried. Item 9.6 is contract number 2023015, the design and construct bridge replacement at Digny's Bridge Road, Timboon. Mr. Kelly, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this report seeks to award the contract for design and construction of the bridge replacement at Digny's Bridge Road, Timboon. The existing bridge is in a deteriorated state with timber decking and abutments, and requires ongoing maintenance by council staff. So with that, the proposal is to replace the bridge with new concrete deck and concrete abutments to give more longevity to the bridge. Currently there's a budget in council's budget for $700,000 to replace the bridge. That includes $560,000 contribution from the federal government with their Bridges Renewal program. So council's contribution for this particular project is $140,000. So through the tender process, the best value for council was from a tender submitted by Murray Valley Piling, who are an experienced contractor who just recently successfully reinstated the Baruppa Road Bridge for council, and their council officers were very impressed with the quality and the workmanship of that company. So with that in mind, it is recommended that the contract for this bridge replacement at Digny's Bridge Road be awarded to Murray Valley Piling for a contract sum of $631,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Councillors, so I'd like to move that recommendation, please. Councillor Vogels. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon. Councillor Macon, thank you. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. No, it's so good to see this bridge coming up for fixing. I've bounced my butt over that for the last 30 years. And probably my tyres have probably borne half of it out. I've been over that many times. To come within budget, it's under budget, which is phenomenal in this climate. And a company that we've just been working with on Baruppa Road Bridge, which has turned out to be a good partnership and worked well. Nice, good, trusted people to build your bridge is good. And lifting it up a bit higher, getting it up above flood level, so we don't, every time it goes underwater with the current planning system or whatever system it is, as soon as it goes underwater they have to shut it down until someone can get out and inspect it, and I think they have to wait for the water to go down so they can see where the pylons hit the ground. It's just ridiculous. So if we can keep its head above water, we don't have to shut it down all the time. So coming up when they shut it down for 45 days, I think, which will be a bit of a pain for the local residents, but so much gain over the coming years when we don't have to have it shut down time and time again. As soon as they open it, we get another flood, shut it down, wait for it to get inspected again. So I'm pretty excited at this one. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I can tell Councillor Vogels. And I'm sure the residents of Digney's Bridge are there with you. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. I don't have much to add. I think Councillor Vogel has said it all. I just love it that it's come in under budget, so well done to Mr Kelly and the team at Murray Valley Piling for putting in the application and the tender. I do note that Murray Valley Piling also put in a alternative concept plan for this bridge, and we did have a look at it, but we thought that the original way of doing steel with concrete and reinforced abutments is the better way to go. So thank you for Murray Valley Piling for putting in the alternate application, but we need to go with what's true and trusted, and lifting the bridge up a little bit would be great for the residents as well. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillors, any further? All in favour? Carried. Item 9.7 is a licence for the use of council-managed land for an EV charging station in Camperdown. Mrs Lindley, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is for Council to consider a licence agreement with an electric vehicle charging provider, EV Network, for the installation and operation of an electric vehicle charging station on council-managed land, namely an on-street car park in Bath Street, Camperdown. For a number of years, Council has participated in regional projects where gaps in the EV charging network across the state have been identified. And Camperdown was previously listed as a priority town for installation of EV charging facilities. And following a successful funding bid, EV Networks have been working to find a suitable site over the last 6 months. Numerous attempts to access private land to provide charging services to the community and visitors were undertaken, and 7 private sector businesses and landowners approached, but all without success. Consequently, EV Networks then approached Council to find a suitable location on council-owned or managed land, and officers identified 10 possible locations. Ultimately, the Bath Street location was selected as the most suitable, given its proximity and visibility from the main street, the size and configuration of the car parks, and access to suitable power. In terms of other regulatory requirements, EV Networks has applied for and obtained a planning permit for the Bath Street location, as a permit was required under the Heritage Overlay. Council's Assets Department has also specified alterations to maintain safe parking in the street, and EV Networks are solely responsible for the implementation of those changes. If a licence agreement is entered into, EV Networks will also be responsible for the full maintenance and operating costs of the licensed area, including the installation and usage costs of power, car parks and surrounding areas, maintenance of the bitumen, line marking, EV charging related signage and curb and channelling, as well as other requirements as directed by Council. They will also be responsible to pay the charges for all licensee-related utility services provided or used in the charging site, or any associated outgoings which are or become chargeable. In other words, this is not a council-run or operated project, but it does provide Camperdown with an important service for the community as the purchase and use of electric vehicles continues to expand in our community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation, page 428. Does someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Kennedy, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Beard, thank you. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. This recognises the increasing numbers of EVs that we're seeing on our roads now, and is a response to demand for that for EV charging facilities, and also as part of council, our commitments in our council plan. We need to have increased EV charging accessibility in our regional areas, and these will, like having one in Camperdown, will bring support to our local community and hopefully increase some visitation to the Corangamite Shire. It's a pity really that the private landowners did not take up the opportunity. I know certainly the applicants tried very hard, but it's a shame So, we're able to step in and help provide that in Camperdown, and we can facilitate that arrangement at very low cost. The proposed licence provides for the licensee to pay all the costs, as Ms Lindley explained. I think it's something that we need to have in Camperdown. I think it's going to be it'll be good for the community, and I think it'll create some economic positive economic effect in Camperdown. So I certainly support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Beard.
Oh, yes, through you, Madam Mayor, and I think you will actually join me. This is a little bit bittersweet. I feel like the late but great Clinton Bolsh would be absolutely smiling from ear to ear tonight.
It would be.
Because Bolshy used to ring you and I quite regularly telling us to hurry up and get our act into gear for getting an electric vehicle charger, particularly in Camperdown, being on the highway. But Corangamite needed to hurry up and get their act together. So, Bolshy, this is our little contribution maybe to what the future is holding. I have to admit, though, I was a little bit disappointed in terms of the fact that there being a commercial or private entity and it's on public land, there'll only be a peppercorn charge, and being $1 for those that are listening that may not know that, in terms of per annum, because of the fact of the economic capabilities it may deliver to not only Corangamite but the region. So I get that. What I don't get is, I guess, the inequity potentially being with some other commercial businesses. So I think going forward, this being the first project as sorts, which isn't our project obviously, but I'm foreshadowing that there will probably be a need for us to come up with a policy for council to look at. I think I've already named it too, called the EV charging on public land policy. So there you go. Whoever's listening, take note. We might be back here very soon and have to look at that. But I think we need to come up with something a bit more equitable, noting that, it's been assigned a Category D within the council leasing policy. So there's not a lot of wriggle room there. But I think it'll be a good outcome. It'll be one of those let's watch and see, but I hope people take it up and it gets a reason for people to stop longer in our area, particularly in Camperdown. And then I guess we see what happens in other areas, in other towns, hopefully throughout Corangamite as well. But knowing that Camperdown has been headhunted for this project, there's not a lot we can do other than facilitate the public land side of things. But first and foremost, I guess it's our little project now that we can say Bolshy will be proud of. Thank you.
I'm sure you would be. And I think, I agree with you around the peppercorn rent, but, as this is a sort of a model for Camperdown, which is fantastic. I would like to think that private businesses would look at the opportunities that come their way with vehicle charging, because I do know of a colleague of mine, a Macedon Rangers, who came down to this area, stayed in Terrain because there was a electric vehicle charging station, went down around the coast, and but everywhere they go, they have to look to see where they need to recharge. So there's certainly benefits in there if you do have them on your site. And I'm pleased to see that there is discussions, Mrs Lindley, with site at Port Campbell, so that's fantastic. Mr Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Because I too am quite disappointed that the 7 private businesses were approached and none of them saw fit to take on the challenge. Of the 9 other council areas that have been viewed, I'd say this is probably the least preferred spot of all in Bath Street. But I suppose I have an issue with public land or community asset land being used for a private enterprise. I think there's probably going to be, as Councillor Beard said, a policy that needs to be developed as the electric cars or EV start to have a few more charging stations around the community. Given that Camperdown's catchment area is 2 hours, it probably make great sense to have a charging station here. But I think as far as a service charging sector on community asset land, I think we probably could have come up with a far better solution. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Hickey. Anything further, councillors? We'll put this to the vote. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 9.8 is a lease agreement for 59 William Street, Lismore. Thank you, Ms Love.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, this report seeks to establish a lease agreement for the use of the former Maternal Child Health Centre in Lismore, which is located at 59 William Street. The former Maternal Child Health Centre is being used as that, and then more recently as a family daycare centre, but we have struggled to attract contractors and service providers in Lismore to offer that service, and it has remained vacant for a couple of years now. So very excitingly, we have promoted the opportunity to lease this building, and we've received one submission from a local veterinary clinic who is looking at a commercial opportunity to provide service from the north. They're already providing service in the north, but this will actually mean that clients don't need to travel as far to be able to access that service. The proposal is for initially 1 year lease term with 2 additional 5-year lease options being available. In accordance with our property leasing policy, it is a commercial opportunity and has been assessed as such, but with the benefits and certainly the terms and conditions where they are providing maintenance and capital works to the facility. We've applied a subsidy to that, and there has also been a counter offer. So the recommendation is to advertise our intention to enter into that lease, and the annual lease fee be set at the offer provided by the applicant. Councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, someone prepared? Councillor Hickey, Councillor Cole. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I think being able to lease out a community asset is great for our area, and also for Lismore, and to be able to have a veterinary service that does look after the Lismore region is going to be a great advantage. So I think whilst the annual lease fee is under review, or will be under review, I think this is a great opportunity to grab the opportunity right now and have a vet that services the northern part of our shire.
Thanks, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councillor Hickey, and it's good to have a building being occupied and used, because they only go backwards rapidly if they're not occupied and used. So that's a win-win. And for the vet service to extend their area up to Lismore, they have a small branch occasionally in Darren, but I think they must possibly get an amalgamate that into this. It'll give them more of a sort of a base to operate out of. They do have an extensive area up there that they service, so hopefully it'll be a win for all parties included. So,
Thanks, Councillor Cole. Councillors, any further comment? All those in favour? Carried. Item 9.9 is the Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, Planning Environment Act 1987. Mr Plozza, please, can you introduce this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Something of a administrative matter that I put up for you guys this evening. As you'd be aware, the state government vests numerous powers in local government through various pieces of legislation. The one that is impugned tonight is the Planning and Environment Act. So council, of course, have vested their powers underneath this act, and they can only make decisions via council resolution. So as a matter of practicality, council opts to draft an instrument of authorisation and then delegate out powers to specific officers. These powers under this specific instrument gives our officers the power to enter sites, gather evidences, serve legal notices, those kinds of things. Now, this has to be reviewed from time to time whenever there's a staffing change. We've recently had Class Meikle depart from council, and we've had a new planner start in Andrew Gardner in Mr Moyne's team, and as a result we've had to update the instrument, and I've now put it before you, and there's a recommendation at the end for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr Plozza. Councillors, can someone move the recommendation, please? Purely procedural. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it is purely procedural, and I don't think I can add anything more than what's in the report.
Thank you. Councillor Macon?
No, nothing further to add. Thank you.
I'll put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.10 is the quick response grants allocation for December 2022. Thank you, Mrs Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Quick Response Grants program has a fixed budget that Council provides annually for the distribution of funds to Shire community groups. The program has a rolling intake and is flexible and allows Council to allocate small amounts to various community groups, resulting in positive outcomes for the community. For the month of December, 5 applications have been received. One from the Cobden and District Historical Society for the replacement of a window at the former Chocolate Hall building, which is actually located in Cobden. The Brucknell Park Scout Camp Committee of Management for the purchase of an echo printer. The Original Recreation Reserve for the purchase of a hot water system. The Simpson Recreation Reserve Committee of Management for the purchase of trees. And the Port Campbell Surf Lifesaving Club for the replacement of audio-visual equipment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs Lindley. Councillors, I know this is always a really popular item. Would someone like to move it tonight, please? Councillor Cole, and seconded by Councillor Macon. Thank you. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I notice there's nothing from the north, but Cobden, a place that has everything, is getting more. I've said it before, but these grants go a long way to help the communities just keep things ticking along and improve things. And, you know, Port Campbell Surf Lifesaving, $500 for audio visual. It's just, it makes it so much easier. Small grants do big things sometimes, and congratulate the people, and perhaps next time we'll get something up north as well.
Thank you, Councillor Cole.
Perhaps.
Yes, I'm very keen on that slide. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. I don't have much more to add, just that there is still just over 7,000 sitting in the kitty, so I do encourage people to have a look around, see what they need for the new year, and get your quick response grants in there, because they are a great way to help out communities and get things achieved. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. I see you're down to $5 in your ward.
Yes, I am. My ward knows how to spend money.
They certainly do. They make the most of it. That's great. Fantastic. Councillors, nothing further. All those in favour? Carried. Item 10 is other business. Councillors, does anyone have any other business they'd like to raise this evening? No? We have nobody joining us this evening in the gallery. Is there any questions online, Mr CEO?
Through you, Mayor, there's been no questions online.
Thank you. Councillors, we do have an item to discuss in confidential, so can I call for a motion to suspend standing orders, please? Thank you, Councillor Hickey, and seconded by Councillor Vogels. All in favour? Carried. At that point, I'd like to thank the viewers that we do have online, and I certainly wish you a very happy and safe Christmas. And if you're travelling, please take care. We want to have you back watching in 2023. Happy Christmas. Thank you.